back to Data Center Changemakers Sweden, live from Data Center Forum Stockholm. This is our 10th Data Forum in Stockholm, so I'm really pleased to be here with you this afternoon for our last session, where we're going to look into the AI revolution. My name is Liselotte Lyngsø. I'm a futurist and your moderator of today, and this is Data Center Changemakers Sweden. Besides from looking into the AI revolution, we will also later on look into a specific use case on how data centers can help support the electricity grid. But first, AI, and I'm really delighted to welcome you, Louise Gjonsjø from IBM. I spoke to you at the Swedish Confederation of Industries not long ago, and I thought you did a really exciting talk. We don't have so much time here, but I hope you will have a chance to come forward with the AI ideas. And Torbjørn Minne from RISE, you already had the chance to speak as well on the other stage, and I hope you will be able to recap the bouillon, what you call it, the concentrate of how the massive changes are happening right now to data and chips. And finally, you as well, Erling Gudmundsen from AdNord. How are the data centers going to adapt? So welcome to the three of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First of all, Louise, give it away. What do you see as a big trend? And if you look at the AI, is it an evolution or a revolution? Or are we just taking the first baby steps? How mature is it? How long time is it going to take?
There's a lot of questions. Great
Yes.
questions. Thank you. Revolution is a big word. I wouldn't say it's an AI revolution. It's an evolution. AI has been around for quite long, but we see trends right now that makes it more rapid, I would say. One big trend is the openness of the models, meaning that we move away from the closed models and going into open models, putting them on open source, crowdsourcing on them, which is brilliant. We really like that within IBM because it makes it more efficient. We can wrap it on to the sort of next step of how we create our models, all of us, and how we use them. The second part that we see is data, of course, and the usage of data. Around 50% of the enterprises around there say that they use Gen AI right now. But when we look at the studies on what kind of data that is used, around 100% of the public data is used for Gen AI. Let that sink in. 100% of the public data is used. It means a lot of our own data is used for Gen AI right now. The enterprise data, less than 1% is used for generative AI. So the step right now going forward is, how do we get access to that data? How do we do enterprise AI properly? I think that also taps into what you guys here are going to talk about. So what the steps going forward here is to really accelerate AI for enterprises.
Yeah, because we just had another speaker here talking about who won the Nobel Prizes, right? Mm-hmm. That was the AlphaFolding. So what will it take for European companies to share data without losing out on patents and competition, and actually go that way, which Draghi is also talking about in his report on European competition? Is it a way to anonymize data? How can we get that corporate data in there?
I definitely think we're moving in that, and there are a lot of enterprises working in those directions. And it's back to ecosystems. I think that's a trending word that we have heard throughout today, that we need to work and choose our ecosystem and how we're going to do this. And I have high hopes that that's is also what's going to happen, also with the open models when it comes to AI. But I also want to chip into the world of revolution, and maybe that's what we see in quantum. So when we have our quantum computing coming forward, that's maybe when we take the revolution steps that coming and not the evolution steps.
And that will be a supplement or a replacement of the AI?
No, a supplement, definitely, not a replacement.
Can you give a few words of describing it? Because I think it's the first time today we hear the word quantum. We heard a lot about AI, And how far are we in the quantum?
Well, the quantum is
arena?
here, right? The quantum area is here, and the quantum computers are here. Then it is a supplement, so you have to put your use cases for it, and this traditional computing is going to stay. Quantum computing is enabling for it and can make AI models, for example, being faster, more efficient, less power consumption, etc. So I think it's an enablement that we need to look at.
And also within security, it's going to be a deal breaker, or not a deal breaker, but a deal maker, I guess we will need
Yeah,
that
definitely.
for-
Well, we need it both to be secure, but we also need to make sure that we are quantum safe. This is something I can talk about forever. as
Okay,
you can
sorry,
hear,
sorry,
so
Louise.
Don't open
We
that
better
box.
move to the next AI expert tour. Can you give this condensed version of how fast is it going? Louise didn't really want to say whether we were in the baby steps or the mature. Are we teenagers? How far are we and where are we going?
If you look at the NVIDIA, you take the NVIDIA chipset and the development of that, then we are taking the first steps, baby steps. We all have heard that, okay, next year it's going to be some 125, 130 kilowatt racks out there, liquid cooled. So why is that happening now when we're used to maybe 10 kilowatt average rack or lower than that? The thing is that the power that goes into these new chipsets will go up. They will be denser. The chipset will be denser. Then the heat flux will go up, and the heat flux will come in 2030. If you just do the prediction to 2030, we will end up like a nuclear power station in the heat. And then to cool that, we know the nuclear power station, we need to cool with water. So we need to cool the electronics with liquid of some kind, maybe not water directly.
So 2030 is the point where we can't have chips without cooling with
No,
water?
it will be already next year.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
125 kilowatt rack from NVIDIA reference designs is liquid cooled.
Wow.
So from that moment on, liquid cooling is required. And if you continue to look at that trend of the chipsets and what it means to the servers, etc., to rack, we will see 2030 1 megawatt racks. 1 megawatt per rack. It's not possible to do it with current technology. We need to rethink from now to when they are built 2028. We have a 2-year window to come up with a new way of doing it.
Louise, are we going to make it?
Yeah, I think so. Let's put it
I'm not
that.
sure.
Together, I think we can make it.
Erling, are the data centers at all ready for this?
Yeah, I think all of the data center market, we know it's moving very, very fast. And, it's not, if you look back maybe 16 months, we talked about 10 kilowatt racks, then 40, then 80, then 132, then 150, 200, 250. We have 6 data centers now that we're preparing for liquid cooling capable of 132 kilowatt racks. And from an operational point of view, it's interesting because now we have something in the white space that was not allowed. You could have water on the outside of the white space, but now we have it in the chip. So all of this water, all of this power, so we are all learning in the market, and we need to train, our workforce as well with this new technology. Yeah, I've heard about the 1 megawatt racks. It's very, very interesting, and it's coming. It's probably before 28, because it moves so fast.
Yeah, you need to have the solution at 2028, so we can run at 2030.
Yeah.
What do you think, Louise? Do we have looking into a more cost-efficient way of using AI and maybe also a more sustainable way? I mean, the first mobile phones that people came with, Douglas, he was walking around with a huge phone, right? And then it became small and smart. Are we going to see the same thing here, or is it all going to explode around our ears?
But I think it's both into the hardware technology, as we just heard. How do we more efficient around that? But it's also about optimizing the use of AI and the AI itself. So I think the key word is optimization. So we see a usage of large models that are general. So they can do a little bit of that and a little bit of that. the trend now is, of course, to have shorter, more efficient models, and I think that will increase more and more, and we get better to make the models.
So the AI
Fit
will
for
be able
purpose.
to predict that. Right now I pose a question around my garden and I will have a garden AI helping me.
Well-
It's not looking at the whole system, is that what you mean?
Yeah, and I also
So
saw
it's
that the
more
models
targeted?
that we use for the specific use case will be specific for that use case, and you train it for that, and don't use a wider model. Because again, the training of the models takes a lot of this energy as well. And if we can limit that, we also being more efficient.
What is your point on that?
Yes, I had a slide on that. We see right now looking, it's just, it's 2 years ago when ChatGPT 3.0 was released. Only 2 years had passed. And since then, the trend has been 10 times improvement per year in efficiency, in optimizations like this, quantization, sparseness, etc., targeted models, etc. So there's a lot of work going on in optimization because it's energy, and energy costs something. So those that train these models, they need to lower the cost as well. So it's going hand in hand with sustainability.
Luckily, yes, it does.
Luckily. Yes, luckily. Could have been some other way.
And Louisa, in terms of where to put your data, do you have any considerations around that?
Yeah, but that's also part of the puzzle, right? And I tend to like hybrid by design and not by accident. So right now, there is a trend all over to see that, okay, put the data and use your AI where it makes sense. So don't be locked in anywhere. Make sure that you use data that is used a lot, you put on one place. Data that's cold, put it somewhere place where both for cost efficiency, but also for sustainability. So use different kind of medias, make sure that your architecture is looking into these aspects as well. And sometimes you need to do AI right on the chip for some personal data, but other part of data, you don't. So be smart and be hybrid by design.
One little thing I would like to ask as a futurist is that, we're talking a lot about digital twins, but if I want my own data, I want all the data in the world, but I want it to be used and anonymized for me. Can I get that? Will we have a specific Scandinavian data? Right now, a lot of people feel manipulated by the big tech giants, but can we have something that is securing us, which is, our AI bodyguard? Is that a future that we look into?
Ooh,
do you see what I mean?
It's a big
Rather
question.
than the
So,
corporation owning our data, will we be able to have our own personal AI?
It's a really good question. In IBM, it's always the user who owns the data. So we don't own any of the data. And I think that's something we need to work with across the whole ecosystem. Own the data yourself.
Erling, what will all this mean for building the data centers?
I think, we in the Nordics, we are on a solid ground. We have all the cold climate, we have the hydro, we have the workforce. To have a lot of, here today, we have been talking about we are too late in the game. We should step up as a Nordic and be proud where we are. We have great opportunity to step really into this. And I think we all know, we are in a very good place. We have, stable environment, we have great workforce with all of the opportunities. So maybe your dream will come true.
That we actually have some data that we own in this region.
That's a good question. But at least, from a data center point of view, we have great location. If you look at the whole world, where the world is today, from a climate point of view, we're in a good spot.
So, and Louisa, all these things are happening around our ears. Do we have the skills? Are we ready to work
I think
and
we have
think
the skills.
In terms of exponentiality?
I think we have skills. But we have another challenge I would like to bring up.
Yes?
Material. There's a lot of materials that needs to go into all this. Both the electricity production and the electronics, etc. Do we have enough material in the world to do this? That's a big question. And do we want all the mining that is needed? Can we do reuse material in even more efficient way? That is a big question, I think, that we need to ask ourselves.
Any ideas on that, Louisa?
A big question again. Valid questions. I don't have the answers.
There are researchers that think that maybe we should have some other, not green transformation, we should do purple transformation.
Purple transformation?
Yes.
What is that?
That's a new word.
I love new words. Interesting,
Yes,
exciting.
yes.
What does that purple mean?
Yeah, so this material limitation is a challenge. Maybe we have to go another way. We're producing energy and use.
So, purple?
No, yeah, maybe I'd like to end because we're in Sweden, and I've been really proud of this Swedish knowledge about data centers. You know, now we are working in Denmark, Finland, Iceland. You know, you have a very powerful workforce here that's setting a standard. So, you know, it's you have built up a good knowledge here in Sweden. So, because I have the luxury of working with all of the Nordics, different, and it's something you did here really well.
And what would you say it takes? I mean, we futurists are saying that within the next 10 years, 2/3 of what you know in your job today has been transformed thanks to AI, because so many job functions are being transformed. So what are the main competence moving forward, Louise, grasping this huge transformation in your point of view?
It's a good, I can see there is different parts. Of course, it's part of actually using AI. That's some way or another we all need to manage that. We will not lose our jobs to AI, but we will lose our jobs to people who use AI. That's how I see it. So we all need to sort of have our own education around it, personal. But then it's also around what it takes, to do your large language models, data scientists, all of that. Okay, do we have the right? Yeah, I think we are on quite good track there, as you said as well. But then there's also the other part here in sort of, when we see now when AI fails, meaning taking it from POCs, the bouncing balls, okay, this is so cool, and take it into production. The majority of product fails because of middleware, meaning the boring plumbing part. You know, it's not about, we don't know the use case, so we don't have it. Okay, do we actually have the skills to update models, to do the in-between work, to update everything that's going through, what we call in IT middleware. So that's a skill as well that's connected to AI. So 3 things: learn your AI, develop AI, and do the plumbing.
I think that was a perfect ending on this round, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Let's give yourself a big round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you.
I could go on talking about this.
Yes.
Can I start, Marcelo? Okay, thank you. As a follow-up on our discussion earlier on today on energy, we'll now look specifically at how data centers can stabilize the grid. And for that, I'm so lucky to have with me Stefan Nielsen from Conapto and you, Jonathan Raber from Fever. Stefan, most in the audience probably know Conapto, but please give us a quick intro.
Hi, we're a local colocation provider here in Stockholm. Recently opened our 4th site, so we have managing 4 data centers here in Stockholm. So.
And Jonathan?
Yes?
Even though you have been called one of the hottest startups at Wired in 2024, congratulations with that. I'm sure that, how many knows Fever in here? 1, 2? So please...
They're from Conapto.
Oh, okay, that's why. So please tell us more. And especially as a futurist, I'm really curious, you've developed these virtual power plants. I need to know all about that.
Sure. So we at Fever, we believe in a future where energy can be free for those who harness flexibility. So we are optimizing the use of energy and the relationship to the grid. So what we do is we develop software and we deploy it at infrastructure that is connected to the grid and relies on the grid for energy. And then we create these virtual power plants. So if you have an industry that consume or produce a lot of energy, you can contribute to the entire system and be paid for that contribution. And
That
so
sounds a lot like gamers. It's a kind of a game,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
because you have, yeah, it almost sounds like a gameplay.
I mean, we think it's fun at least, so yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. And data centers will most likely be seen as power consumers by most people. Was using data centers to build virtual power plants on your radar before this collaboration?
Well, yeah, if you just look at the landscape from the outside and you see who is going to consume a lot of energy in the future, data centers is kind of one of the top ones. And today, if you talk to society or the grid owners or the ones building out infrastructure, data centers can often be seen as a cancer in the local environment because they consume a lot of energy, making it so that other industries can't deploy in that area. So how can we help that? How can we make sure that data centers are more of a lung in the grid, helping the grid breathe in and out, and society kind of contribute or get benefit from that location of the data center? So that's kind of how we see it from the outside. And then I think Conapto has a very future-leaning vision of how they position themselves in terms of how they're green and how they kind of use their assets, the grid connection, to really build a business.
Who came up with this initiative with the dynamic grid support? It was together with Vertiv. You announced this introduction, right? So who came up with it?
I think it actually started in a conversation between us and Conapto. And Conapto was really driving it and really eager to get going. So I'll hand over to you.
Stefan, just explain a 5-year-old and me. How does it work? You know, very simple terms.
Yeah, it's a collaboration between us, Vertiv as the UPS manufacturer, Fever as the aggregator between us and the grid, and obviously the grid itself, Svenska Kraftnät. So it's a collaboration with all of our four. So basically what we wanted to do was to try and utilize the full capacity of the battery capacity that we already deploy on site. And sometimes we deploy capacity that we don't have any customer load on. Sometimes we have customer load on it because we're an operator, a colocation operator, so it can vary from time to time. And the old systems were not allowing us to do both of that at the same time. Take both the SLA towards the customer and give back to the grid with the overcapacity that we had. So that's the innovative part of this solution, is that Vertiv has created together with us and Fever the dynamic part that we can actually take care of the SLA towards customers and at the same time utilize the rest of the capacity in the batteries for balancing services, being, as Jonathan said, a lung towards the grid, because the grid needs balancing services. Otherwise, they cannot balance between production and consumption. And on top of that, they obviously want to add as much renewables to the mix as possible. And as we all know, wind and solar in Sweden, for example, it's not always blowing and it's not always sunshine. So the production mix goes up and down, which means that they need to balance the production. And that's where we come into the mix, giving back capacity to the grid so they can balance the grid so that we all don't, that doesn't happen any blackouts or interferences in the electricity system.
Is this mitigating fluctuations? I guess it is inherently in this wind and solar production. Is it unique to data center operation? I think we heard T-Loop early on talking about a similar initiative. Is it becoming more mainstream, or what do you think?
I hope so. If I'm being honest, I don't think that there are that many data center operators doing it at the moment, because I think there has been some kind of a wrongful truth that you are mixing up your SLAs towards your customers or whatever. So that's the beauty of this solution, is that we're not doing that. So we can actually do it both ways. So I think more operators should do it.
So even old ones can do it? Anybody?
It depends a little bit, because obviously it puts some technical pressure on the actual UPSs and the actual batteries that you're using. You can't use really old batteries, because then you can't recharge them as much as you need to do. So you need to do lithium or more modern batteries. But if you already are thinking about investing in those type of systems, then obviously grid support is there for you to use.
It will not be possible without batteries, or?
Well, I mean, technically you can use any generators that you have on site to do this. So the fantastic thing here is, from an efficiency perspective, all the equipment that was needed for this, or 99% of it at least, was already there, already invested into. So this was just adding benefits and adding value to existing infrastructure. If you take a step back and you asked, are others jumping on this? I think what you'll see much more in the future is data centers understanding that, hang on, my big asset here is my grid connection. That's what I'm paying for from day one. That's what I can monetize from day one as well. So no matter how big that grid connection is, you can also put a battery outside the data center that helps kind of as a power bank in that local environment, so that you can offer a much cheaper energy to your consumers.
But what about the grid operators? Are they all in for this?
I mean, I would say a fifth party in this collaboration was really the grid operator. The local grid operator was very helpful and very optimistic about this, because for them it's great. It builds more capacity in their local grid.
In a moment, I'll speak with the Danish Data Center Industry Association, and I wonder, do you think this will become the norm or even mandatory? Will it be a legislation saying, of course you have to do this, looking into the future?
Yeah, it all depends, to be honest, but I think that and obviously the need for balancing services will obviously fluctuate over the year, because obviously Svenska Kraftnät, for example, in their production mix have hydro, they have nuclear, they have wind, they have solar, and that mix, obviously, they balance it over the year as well. So you cannot really maybe do balancing services all year round, because sometimes they need it, sometimes they don't. So there is obviously some things to take in consideration, but I would imagine, I don't know, I'm guessing, but I would imagine that all countries in Europe is operating the grid on 50 hertz as we do in Sweden, and then obviously all grids needs to kept in balance in some way. So
I don't think you need any legislation.
No.
I think
It just
the
makes
only
sense.
way, yes, and the only way to secure
Good business.
bigger grid connections with local DSOs, the only way to have great kind of offering for your customers in terms of energy and OpEx is through harnessing this asset.
But I'm definitely going to talk to the Swedish Association.
do that. And a tip to all the other operators, I'm giving away some free advice here, is that if you do heat reuse to district heating, for example, and if you do grid support and other society-friendly activities, then it will be easier for you to carve out more power in the future. So just say.
On that happy note, let's give them a big hand of applause.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, we have to wrap it up for now. I would like to thank all my guests for their insights and all you viewers turning in online for joining us at Data Center Changemakers Sweden. Thank you.